Time to go behind the jersey, presented by Mass Mutual, an official partner of the Boston Red Sox. Trevor Story back for another season with the Red Sox, coming off a fully healthy year here that's on pay 157 games. He joins us now. When you look back on last season, you know, when you had a chance after the playoffs, after the disappointment of the ending, to put that season in perspective, what mattered to you the most? The health, the production, all of it? Like, what did you most dwell on when this season was over?
Yeah, I think the winning, getting back to the playoffs was the first thing. But, as we get into the personal side of it, definitely the durability. That's kind of what I've always hung my hat on, throughout my career, is being able to post. And like we say, my goal is 155 every single year, and I was able to get 157. So doing that for the first time in a few years meant a lot to me. Just because I know all the work and all the behind the scenes and all the people that have helped me get back to that. So it meant a lot.
Last year you come into camp with that in your mind, right? Like, I need a healthy season. I know, man, those first 3 years were tough on you. It was very important for you to play, to show these people, these fans, what you could do. How different is it for you walking into this camp? You accomplished that. Is it easier walking in, like freeing your mind a little bit this year?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, for sure. Yeah, I felt like it had to happen. I really believe that the player comes out eventually, and through injuries and missing time and all that, it was tough for me getting back into games and making the adjustments that I needed to make. But I was able to do that. I feel like my season started June 1st, and there in Atlanta when it kind of turned around for me. So being able to do it consistently, like the last 4 months of the season, that's more so what I get excited about, because I know there's another level for me, and I'm just looking to do that over a full season.
I joked with you about the sacrifice bunt that turned the season around, right? But you drop a bunt in Milwaukee, and sometimes, I know that's not why things turned around, but it's a kind of an indication. Sometimes you just strip it down to the basics, right? Do a little something to help the team. Here's where I am right now. I'm going to move this runner along, and all of a sudden the baseball gods kind of smile on you at that point, don't they?
Yeah, it was, it's just about winning at that point, man, and it always has been. And sometimes, your mind gets clouded and the effort's so high that you don't really realize you're redlining out there. And I think that was a big part of my season was, I say making the adjustments, and it was more about like getting back into the flow of the everyday game and what I needed to do every day to be successful and feel like I can be a big part of the game. And I think, that was kind of just a little look into what it was in my mind, just laying down the bunt and, kind of relaxing and just kind of putting myself in the background and putting the team first.
From that point on in June, it was just one of the better produced hitters in the game the last 4 months that you had. But I don't think people realize what goes through a player when you have the May that you had. It's always compared to like quicksand, because the harder you work, the quicker you sink, right? Everyone's in your ear. What was it for you that did you just throw your hands up? And sometimes it comes down to see the ball, hit the ball?
I mean, to a certain extent, yeah. It's, like you said, you can definitely overwork yourself. For me, it was about learning how to relax better. And so it was a lot of the mental game.
Yeah.
And, I was hitting June 1st. I remember literally I was just trying to hit the ball, like swing 75%.
And I think it was center.
Yeah, double to center, and then the homer the next night. And just some of the hardest hit balls that I've had in, the past 5 years. And then once I felt that, I could trust that, and I'm like, okay, that feels more like it. And then you just, as you know, you can create momentum and leverage yourself, kind of against the pitchers once you get that confidence rolling.
Yeah.
Jaron Durant said here yesterday, and then he said what he learned most about making the playoffs is that the 162 matters, right? I mean, it seems obvious, but he goes, it's not just about playing a full 162, about playing 162 and then being ready to go, where things are different, right? And I feel like, you never want to be the case study of, look, you can have the worst May you could possibly imagine and you still get things going. But having lived through that, you're a veteran in this clubhouse. Anybody's going through a rough week, like, dude, talk to me. I mean, look what I went through and look where I ended up, right? How powerful is that message to be able to share with a young guy?
Yeah, exactly. I think baseball's such a long season, and think the way I heard it is that, it takes a long time to have a bad season. And, I pretty much was, in my mind was, the first 2 months were brutal, man. And I felt like, it's easy to feel like, man, it's going to be hard to scrap your way out of that. But I made a conscious effort to not think about the mechanics, to not worry about that type of stuff, keep it way more external. And, yeah, like you said, going forward, I can maybe help with that with guys. And it just lands way better and more when you've been through it, and I can kind of point to that directly. And that'll always be a challenge in this game.
With the year that you had, you come in here, probably a bigger voice than you've had, because it's hard when you're not playing, right, to have that voice. But the team, you do lose the guy to your right from last year. You lose a guy in Rob Refschneider who is just unique, a role player that leads. Mm-hmm. You don't see that often. That's why he was special. Where does that come from this year? Like, where does that voice come from? Obviously, like I said, a bigger voice from you, but who else are you looking at in this clubhouse now?
Yeah, I think JD, that's the first guy to my mind. Just the way, he sets the tone out there for us. I think with the way he plays, his style, he can really change the momentum of a game. I think that speaks for itself, but I think he's coming to his own from a leadership standpoint as well. I think we can look to see him be a little more vocal, and it doesn't have to be, a crazy jump. I think guys have to be natural in the way they lead, and I think too, you look at the younger guys, and we need those guys to step up and be the guys that everyone kind of expects them to be. And Roman is he's a natural leader. I think, he's obviously only played 70 games or so, and but he brings a presence, and I think you cannot deny that. So people will be looking to him too, and I think that's fair, and I think he's going to embrace that.
Durant said he heard an unk dropped on him. I know you sort of laughed about it. He wasn't happy about that. He'd be 30 at the end of the season. He didn't want to hear that. You mentioned Roman real quick. How much do you think the WBC experience just adds to that, right? You're going to come back from that. That's another check, right? That's another step forward in his career.
Yeah, I'm excited for him. He's super deserving. Obviously, we know he's going to represent us well. And it's a special thing to be in the, in a group of guys like that, represent your country. And we know that, the moment's not going to be too big for him. I think we've seen that from him, in this past year. And I know he's going to learn a lot and come back and be ready to go with us.
Keep you here a couple more minutes. We're going to come right back, take a quick break. You don't often get much say in your career as a baseball player. You did as a free agent, ultimately choosing to come here. You had another opportunity here with the opt-out. Alex Cora said within minutes of that final game in New York, you went into his office and said, I'm in. I'm back. I'm all in. When did you decide that? How much thought had you given it? And what ultimately led to the decision to stay?
Yeah, I think, to put it simply, I think we are an organization that is, trending the right direction. And that's what you look at when you look at your future. This feels more like the situation I wanted when I first got here. Mm-hmm. And being able to see the young guys play, see the talent that's coming up. Obviously, we added a lot of talent this offseason. So I just felt like we created a lot of momentum last year with getting back to the postseason. And we built on that momentum a little bit in the offseason too. So I think it was more about that than anything else. And, a feeling of the unfinished business. Like, I came here to win a championship, and I feel like this is our best opportunity going forward.
You set a tone last year. TC mentioned 157 games, and after not, I think you might have outdone the 3 previous years combined. The other day you said you don't want that to change. Now, you defensively, fundamentally sound. You use your legs a lot. It was one bad week, right? Yeah. One bad week for you defensively. Kind of makes the whole year not look as good as it was. Would you benefit from maybe having a little more time, or was that now that you got a year under your belt, you feel like you're even stronger?
Yeah, I'm not subscribing to that, man. I'm not giving an inch on that. I think I take care of my body really well, and I do that for a reason, and it's the post. I'm 33, but I feel like I'm moving as good as I ever have, taking care of my body in different ways that I never have. And I think that's, part of being the best player that I can be, and being available is obviously the golden standard. But yeah, I'm not letting that slide.
Some pushback then, if he wants to give you some time.
Yeah, for sure.
You've had some different guys over in your left side. We've talked about building that chemistry and working. We'll see how it pans out. Right now, they've had Marcelo out there with you quite a bit. How's that gone this camp?
That's been great, man. Marcelo is just a natural. He's so smooth out there. You can tell he's a shortstop playing second base or third base, and I'm excited to get the reps with him up the middle. We talked today about getting out there and early and just kind of, settling down and taking it slow and being able to communicate more just on a one-on-one basis. And as y'all know, a lot of it is about the chemistry, the communication. So if he does end up being up the middle, which I feel really good about, that's I have lofty goals for us to be the best middle infield in the league.
Yeah, and the other kid they brought in too, Durbin, to your right, if he is at third base. Contreras last year, first year at first base, there was defensive improvement there. You look at your pitching staff. Yeah, there's a couple guys on top that strike out 200. That's always welcome. But there's some ground balls too. You've really improved this defense. How much pride do you take as just defensively? This is your infield. You're the shortstop.
I take a lot of pride. I think we took a step last year, a little bit better than the year previous. But, there's even another level to that. I think, personally, like you said, that last week really bothered me, man. Yeah. I think because it was a pretty good year up until then. And but that's part of the game. You got to learn to make the adjustments and, got to figure it out by the playoffs. But I'm excited about our group. We can be, I think, a top 5 unit in the game. It's going to come with communication and the repetition. And I think, hopefully guys can be more stable in their position. I think that's going to help a lot too. And especially for the young guys, man, knowing where you're going to play every night, that goes a long way.
I'll ask you finally, we'll get you out of here because you got a tea time. Clearly he's dressed and ready to go. But you said at one point, this team stuck with me through the injuries, stuck with me through May last year, right? Then the fans got to see the best of you, got to see what you're all about. How excited are you? The playoff run behind you now. Fans are back on board, think this team is special. To be a part of this and be able to show Red Sox Nation for a full season who Trevor Story is.
Yeah, it fires me up. It really does. It's what pushes me in the offseason. Knowing the group that we have, the momentum that we built, it's going to be special. And I think the guys in here believe that. We're not worried about who's not here. We've added some really good players, and we're just kind of looking around the clubhouse, and man, we're a good baseball team, and we have to go out there and kind of prove that again. But we set the tone last year, and I think that's what it was. And guys are even more hungry to finish the job, and we got to get those home playoff games at Fenway. I'm still missing that, so I'm pumped.
There you go. Appreciate the visit, man. Go hit him straight.
Of course.
Trevor Story with us.